previously on my channel, we found a way to attach this beautiful vintage lens onto a digital medium format camera. So what if we did the polar opposite? By that I mean, what if we took the lens from, say, a disposable camera and attached it to a digital camera? I've seen this idea floating around online for a couple months now. I wanted to give it a shot myself. Okay, back to the proper lens. So we're just gonna have some fun Frankensteining this lens together and see what results we can get. Before we get started though, I'm gonna have to preface this whole video by saying anyone who's planning to do this themselves, please be careful. We're going to be tampering around with a camera that was never designed to be tampered with this way. Dismantling a disposable camera, outside of just taking the roll of film you've just shot out of it, runs the risk of getting an electric shock. And that might not sound like a big deal, but it can easily have you take a trip to hospital if you don't know what you're doing. So please, don't try this at home unless you've done enough research, more research than just watching this video. And this video is not a step-by-step tutorial. I accept no liability if you get yourself hurt. And I by no means promise you're going to be seeing the most sleek and professional craftsmanship. And this is coming from a guy who barely passed his design technology A-level, so his build might not be perfect, but we're going to have a lot of fun. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump into making this. So now that we've got our disposable camera, the first thing we're going to need to do is wind back all the film, because we can save it for later. Now we're going to get out the battery. I'm using a plastic hair comb to get out the battery because it's an insulator, reduces any chance of an electric shock. Now to get the film out. Here we can see all the insides. Let's disconnect the circuitry. And there is our lens. It's a little large to fit inside the body cap, so we're going to need to cut it down a little bit. Here's our body cap. Still a little bit too large, so we're going to cut it down a little bit more. There we go, much better. We're going to drill a hole right into the center. Okay, that's definitely not centered, but it will do. It's still a little too small, so we're going to need to drill it a bit more and give it a bit more sanding. After a lot of sanding, we finally got it to the right size. And now for the moment of truth. It works. There I am. Let's adjust the ISO up a bit. And I'll show you how it looks. Right off the bat, we can see some pretty big differences between a professional, sophisticated digital camera lens and our creation right here. To state the obvious, a professional lens is made up of several pieces of glass, each finely tuned to perfection to ensure a sharp image and minimal distortion, as well as a few other features like being able to control the focus, or have the lens do it itself with autofocus. On the flip side here, our lens here is a single piece of curved plastic. In all fairness, I'm sure if I tried this again and again, getting the hole drilled dead center into the body cap, And maybe experimenting with spacers, so I can perfectly get the lens at the right distance from the sensor. I'm sure I get a better result. The lens on the disposable camera has been calibrated to be the right distance between the lens and the film. But now screwing it onto a digital camera, all that calibration is out the window. Not to mention that my digital camera has an APS-C sized sensor. This is slightly smaller than a film negative, therefore the light entering through the lens is going to cover a larger canvas than what the sensor can actually fill. This means that the image is going to be slightly more zoomed in than it would be if it were on the normal disposable camera. Before we go out and take some photos, I think this is a good chance to talk about prime lenses, or how working with limitations in photography can actually help us. Working with any prime lens. This means a lens that has been fixed at a certain focal length, so it can't zoom in and out, challenges you to have an objective to just take photos that suit this style of lens. Zoom lenses are great because they give you a lot of flexibility. I for one get quite overwhelmed often working with a zoom lens because I have so many different options of photos I could be taking. But with a prime lens, I can just be focused on getting this one style of photo right. And in my experience, 9 times out of 10, I end up taking better photos. Just because the limitations of a lens put me in the right mindset. For this reason, I had to think hard about what would work best for this lens, for me. Trying to capture anything of detail was out the window. This lens is way too blurry. So I thought instead I'd embrace the abstractness of it and go out and take some photos later in the day, focusing on my compositions. What shapes could I make? Where are the leading lines? And what shadows are created with the limited amount of light at night? Now in terms of camera settings, the lens already has a really narrow aperture. Think of it as something close to f11. So already not too much light is getting through the lens onto the sensor. To make up for this though, I can now use a really slow shutter speed and not worry about motion blur because the lens is blurry enough already. I took most of my photos at 1/8 of a second. The ISO still had to be quite high, but I felt it all blended together quite nicely. And of course, as there are no moving parts of this lens, I can't control the focus. So that gives me one less thing to think about. So now that we've finally made this creation, let's go out and test it. I had a lot of fun making this video, and although I don't think I'll be taking this lens to my next professional photo shoot, it was quite a nice challenge to push myself creatively and do something totally out of my comfort zone. And I hope it's encouraged you to do something similar. Challenge yourself. Be that only shoot with one lens for a month, just shoot in black and white, or whatever you can think of. Most importantly, I hope you've had fun watching this video too. And thanks for sticking around through my dreadful DIY. I'll catch you in the next one.